What's going on, folks? This is Root. So I'm going to review the second album from Nicki Minaj, Pink Friday Roman Reloaded. This project came out in early 2012 and was actually pretty immediate follow-up to Pink Friday from 2010. This project came out just about a year and a few months after that. So the concept about it kind of was Nicki Minaj was doing pretty solid throughout 2010 and such with songs like Bedrock and Your Love and some of those type songs, but really she broke even extremely well and she started to really become like a complete household name and mainstream figure with Super Bass, which dropped in like the spring of 2011 and just happened to be a mammoth song throughout the summer of 2011 and really kind of built the hype for her particular next project, and she followed it up pretty quickly. There's a number of promotional singles that kind of happened, like one of which didn't make the album. Kind of curious about that song, but it was called Roman in Moscow. There was a promotional single called Roman in Moscow if you want to seek that song out and such. And I just would have to say it's not on this album. It's not, I don't think it's on any mixtape. I would like if it were on a project, but apparently Nicki Minaj didn't care too much for the song. But there was another one called Stupid Ho, and basically the immediate type stuff that went along with this project was a lot more dance club and dance pop kind of oriented stuff. Now Nicki does do like half rap on here, but for the most part the singles that really crested pretty even on this project were the EDM and kind of dance infused songs. So she juggles two styles here, and you've got songs like Starships and Va Va Boom and Pound the Alarm, and then you've got songs like Right by Your Side, Stupid Ho, and Bees in the Trap, and some of those type ones. And it's just kind of the aspect that I feel like this Roman Reloaded type project, I did like the lyrics. The thing about this Roman Reloaded project is I feel like it's a shade or two weaker than the first Pink Friday. For some reason, that one just had a lot more of a vivid aspect and covered a lot more bases. Was just a lot more revolutionary and kind of, despite the fact that this is probably the more successful album and probably was the one that I think should have sold more, I still feel like there was just a lot more like genuineness, and it's not like genuine like she's insincere or something, but just a lot more rambunctious kind of genuineness to that project that's just not kind of on this one. Now, for some reason, I just feel like Nicki Minaj's rap songs don't hit as hard this time. There's more, like last time on the Pink Friday Complete Edition, which was the one I reviewed with 21 songs, I only wound up disliking like two, three, no more than four songs, I would say. So that's out of 21. So it got like 17 out of 21. I gave it like a 9.5 out of 10. But this song, there's pretty much about 7 songs out of 22 that I didn't enjoy. And that's just kind of the concept, just to give you a synapse of the score I'm going to give it. There just were more songs this time that just didn't connect as even, despite the fact that this is a very fun album and I like this new style. Basically, Nicki Minaj realized that a lot of people like super bass and decided to give folks like a lot more records kind of like that. And it's just good that she managed to do that song, or at least a variation of that song, or at least something in that same subgenre, to where she can craft out more hits and beef up her catalog. But so yeah, she managed to beef up her catalog, but somehow the rap variation of some of these just didn't quite connect as well. Like I do feel like there are some good beats on here, but it just kind of felt, yeah, I feel like the rap songs, there are some good rap moments on here, but I do definitely feel like in the comparison between the dance pop stuff and then the rap type stuff, I feel like the dance pop won this time. That's just kind of the concept. We'll talk about that more. So the singles, there were 6 of them. Not quite as many as like the first Pink Friday, but I do feel like, considering that Nicki Minaj was just here just like a little over a year ago, at least in terms of that album cycle, that's pretty good. And there were some promotional singles also, like I said, the Roman in Moscow, and then Stupid Ho was a promotional single. But basically the first single is Starships, and like the song Super Bass, this is kind of another one in that same vein. So Nicki Minaj kicked it off like that just immediately. Just has a very inescapable hook, just really terrific, very summery kind of vibe about it, very similar to Super Bass in that same context. This has a lot of good expression. This has a lot of good expressions. Just it's an EDM song this time. Like Super Bass is not quite as much of an EDM song, but this is definitely one that capitalized on a trend that was popular throughout 2010, 2011, 2012, and 2013 and stuff. So it's interesting kind of get Nicki Minaj on some EDM type stuff, but her version of EDM is a lot more manic, and I like that concept just because some of hers, like I feel like there's some of these like David Guetta doesn't always quite get as crazy as this, and Linkin Park did like rap metal versions of that, and there just were a bunch of folks like Flo Rida had some good stuff, but I kind of feel like Nicki Minaj's is just a lot more kind of juicy and kind of a lot more pungent kind of EDM type stuff, and it's just really apparent. I definitely feel like Starships deserve the success that it got, and it's definitely was the next at the time. This was Nicki Minaj's second biggest song, and it deserved it. So, but the second single is Right by My Side, and this one is more of a rap oriented type song, but I definitely saw this song as like a makeshift R&B type song. Nicki Minaj sings on the first verse for the most part, and then Chris Brown follows it up and sings pretty well also. I just feel like this was interesting to kind of get, just because at this time Chris Brown was kind of still being blackballed for his Rihanna beating that he did, and he was on probation for that and that type stuff. But it's just interesting kind of get Chris Brown back in the fold. And yeah, this is just like I really feel like this one is not really like a club song as much. This is definitely kind of more of like a day commute kind of song. It's more focused on like the day life and the errand running and the work going and that type of stuff. There are some songs, like I talked on the first Pink Friday review, how there were songs like Fly off of that album with Rihanna that kind of had like some good kind of workaday kind of moments, and this is an example of one that's a single, and I think this actually charted pretty decently, maybe not as high as Starships, but it did pretty well. This is just a good example of one that kind of has like some kind of makeshift kind of feels to it, but it's an R&B song. So I feel like makeshift R&B doesn't always happen, so that's kind of the thing. The third single is Bees in the Trap, and this is an example of a rap song that really works well. It's not quite, I mean, these are not as commercial, but this is kind of the concept. I feel like Nicki kind of like had somewhat of a difficulty with making her rap songs chart really high. This was kind of, if it's not makeshift, I just feel like Nicki was kind of pigeonholed into a point where the rap songs just kind of were more for the hardcore sense. I would have liked the song from Nicki Minaj that could have charted as high as like, Nelly's Hot in Here or something like that. Some type of song that could have had like some chartability, but for the most part, it seemed like most folks kind of wanted the more EDM and dance sound from her. But Bees in the Trap is a great song. It's just a great kind of, uh, real kind of airy and kind of whimsical kind of beat. Definitely like that one. 2 Chainz does a pretty great job on here. I feel like he was a hot lyricist around the time, and he was metamorphosizing from his Titty Boy name, and that's kind of the concept about it. It's just a pretty solid hardcore rap kind of song, but it's not really hardcore to that extreme, but it's just kind of more of like just a standard rap kind of song. It's just a standard hardcore rap kind of song, but it's not to the extreme of being hardcore, but it's just not quite commercial in that sense. But Nicki Minaj does a good job of it. It's definitely a pretty go-to kind of club song. I definitely would like to hear this compared to some other songs that maybe are not quite as heavy hitting. And I'm not talking from Nicki Minaj, but just rap songs that you could hear. This is easy on the ears. In other words, this is a nice one. Pound the Alarm is the fourth single, and this tore up the summer of 2012. This one was a great follow-up to Starships, because I think that's what people wanted, was another song like Starships, and it delivers. This is definitely one that is kind of like a standard entry nightclub kind of song. This is just one that has a little bit, this one's not quite as summer bound as Starships, but it does kind of have like this kind of more in like a night venue. Pound the Alarm was kind of like a standard night venue kind of song. This is definitely more of like an entry and just kind of just got there and kind of engaging with the dance floor a little bit more, kind of getting used to it and kind of the ice breaking moments, kind of that sort of stuff. I just would have to say it's just kind of, kind of getting used to it, getting more comfortable with it kind of thing. Definitely like it. This has a pretty energetic pace about it too. It's probably a little bit more manic than Starships, even though Starships gets pretty crazy in the chorus and like the EDM part of the song. So Nicki Minaj really handled these. Like I said, these are very juicy and like I said, these are very juicy and pungent kind of EDM type songs that definitely have like a lot of vivid energy about them. The next single is Va Va Voom. The fifth single is Va Va Voom, and this is one that's only on the deluxe edition. I feel like it's definitely worth it to get the deluxe edition just because this is a pretty stellar, another one in the same vein as Starships and Pound the Alarm, but this one is kind of more in like a Wednesday night kind of feel where I feel like, if people don't go to like dance clubs and nightclubs until like Friday, Saturday, and Thursday type stuff, this is one where I feel like Va Va Voom this kind of has a lot more mellow energy compared to Pound the Alarm and Starships. I just think that this one would probably work as like a Tuesday or Wednesday night kind of feel where maybe you do have work the next day or maybe there's not a lot of people here. You're just kind of a little bit mellow, but just kind of I like the concept behind it because I just don't it doesn't catch my radar often enough like when folks make dance club songs that are not specifically made for the weekend. This is kind of say it's like a Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night. This is the beginning of the week kind of songs just in case you want to go there despite the fact that it yeah just to be able to say it's just worth it kind of to be able to go. I mean, despite the fact that whether or not responsibilities are kind of implied, you still are able to kind of go to some of these things and enjoy it. It's just interesting to kind of get like Monday, Tuesday night kind of dance club songs. So I like that one. The hook is really exceptional too. Nicki Minaj has a third dance club hit in this single. It just works extremely well. And then Automatic was the sixth single, and apparently this only came out in France, but this is definitely like Va Va Voom at least hit like 20, 25 on like the Billboard 100. So some of these did do pretty well. Pound the Alarm did pretty well also. Automatic was like the last promotional single before she went on to like Roman Reloaded, the re-up, which was like a reissue of this album, which I'm going to review eventually. But this song is basically another. This one's probably the most standard of like the night venue songs. This is just like a real kind of dance ready kind of song and just has like a lot of like LMFAO, Pitbull, Flow Rida kind of energy on there. But this is probably like the most oriented one where Pound the Alarm and Va Va Voom were both kind of entry and just not like pulsating throughout the night. This one, Automatic, feels a lot more like a Friday and Saturday kind of song. This is the one that just doesn't pull any punches and it's not kind of like tamer in its energy feel. And Starships was kind of like a light kind of guitar, just kind of guitar lick summer song. It's kind of more April, May, June. This Automatic is kind of more in the heat of the moment. So this is kind of the one that did that. So yeah, Nicki Minaj nailed all six of the singles, and these just really have some effectual emphasis. But so out of 22 songs on here, I'm going to go ahead and recommend the 15 songs I recommend. So those 15 songs would be there's actually 13 songs I recommend and two almost songs. So those 15 songs would be Bees in the Trap, Come on a Cone, Starships, Pound the Alarm, I Am Your Leader, Va Va Voom, Automatic, Whip It, Right by My Side, Beautiful Sinner, Marilyn Monroe, Masquerade, and Champion. And the two almost songs would be Turn Me On and then Stupid Hoe. And then the two almost songs would be Turn Me On and Stupid Host. The reason why Turn Me On is a almost song is just because it's on David Guetta's album Nothing But the Beat, and I think you could just get that. I mean, it's good that it's on here just because it's a great song, but it is on David Guetta's album. And then Stupid Ho, to talk about this as an almost song, the thing about it kind of is just the fact that I like this song. It definitely reminds me of like a twerk song and like a house party kind of reception kind of song. Just the initial dap and kind of the initial setting it off and acquainting and that type stuff. But I just kind of feel like the beat was just not quite as heavy hitting as I would have liked. It just for me, it's going to take some time to get used to. I don't know the degree as to how much I'd have to listen to it to have it be more effectual. But I listened to it a few times. I kind of feel like I like the song, but it's not as much of a heavy hitter in that thoroughness to dictate it being like the 14th song out of like the 22 on here to be like a wholesome hit. But it is one that I feel like it's at least noteworthy enough to say that I do like things about it, but just not entirely wholesomely. So there's a lot of stuff on here that I feel like I do like some of these rap songs, but I do feel like it kind of got the short end of this. It kind of I do like some of the rap stuff on here, but I do kind of feel like it got some of the short end of the stick this time. Like I like Bees in the Trap. Come on a Comb really has like a bee swarm kind of song. Definitely like this kind of swirling swarm kind of energy towards it. I Am Your Leader is a nice posse cut with Cameron doing a really great job and Rick Ross doing a really great job also. This is a good, like, effectual one. This I can kind of see I Am Your Leader being a club song, but it's just a pretty smooth song. I just feel like it's really smooth just how well the lyricists on here just deliver this one. It just is kind of more of like a lyrical song more so than a full blown commercial club type song, but it works. Bees in the Trap is another rap song that kind of works. Like I said, this is a single and it's kind of more commercial than some of the ones on here, but it's not quite as heavy hitting as like Starships and Pound the Alarm. Right by My Side is Makeshift R&B. Champion's a really nice one. Like this one is a pretty sophisticated, kind of looming, kind of sprawling, kind of theater like song. I just feel like it just reminds me of some place with a lot more like chandelier type places. I mean, I can see it as a club, but this would be a more sophisticated 4 or 5 star club type thing. This is not like your typical vanilla kind of stock kind of club or something like that. It's just more elegant and like Marilyn Monroe is a makeshift blue collar type song. So there are some makeshift songs on here. It's not overly abundant, but I do feel like Masquerade and Marilyn Monroe are both some makeshift songs. I feel like Masquerade is definitely one that can be played at the job. I feel like this one's good enough, especially like the clean edition. That one just works extremely well for being able to just hear while working. And Masquerade is an example of a Nicki Minaj song that's just good to go and is very platonic and just more punctual about it and doesn't have like the kind of raw energy. I feel like Starship's the clean version, Marilyn Monroe, Masquerade, these are just definitely ones that can be played at the job and that type of stuff that just have more of like a good, clean, fun kind of setting. But Right by My Side is another one like that. But I just would kind of feel like there's just some overall good moments on here and like I'm trying to think of some other ones I haven't listed. Like Whip It's another good dance club song. This one's not a single, but it has a great energy, pretty similar to Va Va Voom and Pound the Alarm and those type ones. I mean, for the most part, the dance club songs are kind of the ones that were picked as singles. So Nicki Minaj really like siphoned like this ability and realized that people wanted a lot more stuff like super bass and starships and basically gave it to them. And I think that's kind of the concept about it. You definitely got these in spades this time, but the thing about it is there's not an overabundance of these ones that kind of do that are not singles. So it is on here, but most for the most part, there's not a bunch of album cuts that kind of do it. Like I feel like Beautiful Sinner is another example of that. Whip It and Beautiful Sinner are some more ones that kind of do that sort of thing. I really like the pace of Beautiful Sinner. This one's kind of like a high mid tempo kind of one. This one just has a great beat on here, and it's probably one of the best dance club songs on here in that sense. I like this production more than a lot of beats on here. Like Come on a Cone's really good. Uh, Beautiful Sinner's really good. Masquerade's pretty good for blue collar, and like Pound the Alarm's really a nice one. But there's just some good moments on here that do kind of have that. But I would have to say that the production on here is pretty good, but it's not overtly paid attention to the degree that like a typical rap album kind of would be. Like me trying to think of some of the producers on here. For the most part, it's not like the Mike Will Made It's and the DJ Mustards and those type folks. But I do like the producers on here. But it just is it's kind of it takes a backseat the production takes a backseat just to the overall emphasis. I think the emphasis is more important this time, but it is good enough to say like I like a lot of the beats on here, but in terms of some of that, it's just kind of that's the context about it. But yeah, there's just a lot of stuff on here and lots of good dance club moments. Like to talk about some of the songs I didn't like, I kind of feel like there were some kind of like lame and cruddy beats on here, like HOV Lane and Young Forever and Fire Burns and Gunshot that just didn't quite add up. And Sex in the Lounge, the Lil Wayne songs on this album were really disappointing. I was really hoping that when Lil Wayne destroyed Roman's Revenge on the first Pink Friday that he was going to come through, but really the Lil Wayne songs were not even that notable to talk about. I feel like Roman Reloaded, the title track, and then Sex in the Lounge are both two examples of songs that just didn't hit quite as hard. And just like I said, in comparison, the Nicki Minaj rap songs this time just felt really kind of subdued compared to like the dance club moments. I think a lot of folks realized that that was going to be the breadwinner this time, but there just was not really like an effectual kind of single that. I mean, I think almost that there needed to be a single that was as powerful as Starships, but was kind of more rap oriented. But it just seemed like Nicki, she's hasn't really ever been able to deliver a song quite as good as that. And I mean, minus like Anaconda, she figured it out on the Pink print when she dropped Anaconda. That was an example one, but up to like this point, the first three projects she did, Pink Friday 1, Pink Friday Roman Reloaded, and then like the Roman Reloaded, the re-up, it just seemed like the rap songs just didn't quite hit as powerfully. It was always kind of her more in the dance pop sense that was kind of the winners. But yeah, I do feel like that's about the only real complaint about this project. But I just feel like some of the standard rap songs just don't quite hit as hard, and it's kind of noticeable. That's the thing. I mean, last time on the first Pink Friday, it wasn't noticeable just because that was basically like a classic damn near. But this one just had more notable kind of slagging and kind of like the rap song. So I'm gonna give this album me liking basically 14 songs out of or 13 songs out of 22, and then two almost songs, which would bring it up to about 15. I'm gonna go ahead and give this project, so me basically liking 13 songs out of 22 plus the two almost songs. I'm gonna go ahead and give this album like an 8 out of 10. I think that that's solid enough. I think that's the vast 15 songs out of 22 is about pretty much almost three-fourths of the project, I would suppose. 15 out of 22 is about three-fourths of the project, I would suppose. So I just would have to say that's kind of the context about it. The social score I will give like a 9 out of 10, though, just because there were so many moments on here, even some of the ones I didn't enjoy, like the HOV Lane. Maybe not be a terrific beat, but it is at least kind of a jivey song. So there are some ones that do kind of have like some moments for stepping out in just a lot of sense. And these dance club moments really hit hard. Like Nicki Minaj really knocks like this EDM stuff out of the park. She's one of the central ones to do it. And I definitely think that's notable. She deserves, kind of applause for the effectual of how well she did that style, just to be able to say. But it's just kind of the juggling of like the two styles just didn't quite hit quite as home. But she did do some makeshift moments. There are some good rap songs on here like Come on a Cone, I Am Your Leader, Bees in the Trap, Champion. So there are some moments that kind of do it, but that's just kind of the context. So in terms of the future, like Nicki Minaj has been working with folks. She's been putting out songs with like Lil Baby and NBA Youngboy, and she even did a song with like Ice Spice recently. So there's some stuff like that. She's supposed to be working on a project. We'll see what happens with that. And she did drop Queen Radio Volume 1 back in late 2022. So there is some stuff there.